What's up, everybody? Andrew Mahone here with Tricky Jim at Full Grip Games. Japan's Infinity Zone set was just revealed. It'll be released on June 5th, and it'll be a part of our August set, Darkness Ablaze. It's got some very powerful new cards in it that I can't wait to play with, including a new Salamance VMAX. Let's take a look. If we take a look at Pokebeach, Pokebeach has all of the translations available for the cards from Infinity Zone. So big shout out to Pokebeach for being an amazing source for Pokemon TCG news. Definitely check it out if you have not already. Now, many of these cards we did take a look at already. The Dreadnought VMAX, as well as the powerful new Crobat V, which has an ability just like Shaman EX's setup, Eternatus VMAX, and Houndoom V. But we got a lot of really cool cards in this set that are being revealed for the first time. So we're going to go over those in this video. If we take a look down the list, the first card that I want to talk about is Decidueye. Decidueye is a stage 2 Pokemon with an amazing ability. Its ability, Forest Camouflage, prevents all damage done to this Pokemon by the attacks of your opponent's Pokemon V and GX, and that includes Pokemon VMAX as well. So finally, we have a barrier Pokemon that'll force your opponents to play non-GX, non-V, non-VMAX Pokemon that attack in their decks if they want any chance of being able to compete with a Decidueye. Decidueye also has great attack, Split Arrow. For a grass and a colorless energy, it does 90 damage and 20 damage to 2 of your opponent's benched Pokemon. The Rowlet also has a super cool ability, Sky Circus. If you played Bird Keeper from your hand during this turn, you get to ignore all energy in the attack cost of this Pokemon. And the attack cost is 3 colorless for Wind Pebbles, and it does 60 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So a nice snipe attack. We will talk about Bird Keeper down the line a little bit. It's a really good new supporter. Houndoom V is pretty good. It's got an attack for 1 fire energy, does 20 damage, and your opponent's active Pokemon is now burned. Its second attack for 2 fire and a colorless compensation flame does 100 damage plus 100 more if any of your fire Pokemon have any damage counters on them. It's an okay attack and can punish anybody who damages your Houndoom V. That being said, fire is just a very strong archetype right now with a lot of great attackers. I'm not sure Houndoom V really stacks up against many of them. This new Blaziken is really cool because it's dual typed. It's both fire and fighting type, and it seems like Pokemon is treating the dual typing in the game right now with abilities. During the X and Y era, they had the whole split card thing going on with one side of the card being one color and the other side of the card being another. But with cards coming out with the dual type ability, it seems like that's how they're doing dual typing now. I love to see a dual type Pokemon. It's very cool. This Blaziken's got a pretty sweet attack as well for a fire and 2 colorless. Turbo Drive deals 130 damage, and you can get to attach a basic energy card from your discard pile to one of your benched Pokemon. There are also the monkeys from the black and white era here. We've got Simisear, Giga Impact, 110 damage. This Pokemon can't attack during your next turn. What's interesting about the monkeys from this set that I have seen, Semisage as well, it's got an attack for 3 colorless, does 110, and then you can bet that there is a Semi-Poor that does 110 damage for 3 colorless energy. What's interesting about them is that they can all be used with triple acceleration energy and can hit for weaknesses, which is something that I know that the Pokemon trading card game is really trying to focus on right now. So I like the idea of having techable Pokemon available to us that can hit for certain type weaknesses for just 1 energy using a triple acceleration energy. Now, I love Vanillix. Vanillix is just a super dope Pokemon. It's 2 scoops of ice cream combined into 1 as a Pokemon. What's not to love about Vanillix? It's amazing. It's got a cool ability as well, Freezing Cold. Once during your turn, this Pokemon is in your active spot. You may flip a coin. If heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. It has to be in the active spot in order to use the ability. Doesn't mean you have to necessarily attack with the Vanillix. You could pivot into Vanillix, use the ability, then retreat using an air balloon to something else since you have a retreat of 2, or you could attack with the Vanillix. For a water and a colorless, it does 90 damage, so pretty solid stage 2 Pokemon. Now, we did review Dreadnought V and Dreadnought VMAX already. As far as a water type VMAX goes, it's still weak to lightning, and Pikarom is very strong right now. That being said, a lot of Pikarom's tools will rotate out for our next season, which could alleviate some of the pressure that water Pokemon are currently seeing. That being said, with G-Max Stone Surge dealing 160 damage plus potentially 80 more if you flip heads. I just don't think that Dreadnought VMAX is necessarily any better than Lapras VMAX. Lapras VMAX definitely still my favorite water type Pokemon VMAX, as it's just guaranteed to do more damage with the more water energy that you have attached to it. Now Dracovish is really cool. It's got some Archeops vibes to it. It's a fossil Pokemon. It's got an ability Primal Law. If you're familiar with the Archeops that eventually got banned from expanded format, this ability reads pretty similarly. It says if this Pokemon's in your active spot, your opponent cannot play any Pokemon from their hands to evolve their Pokemon. Now, Archeops was different because it prevented all evolutions from coming into play, even if it was on the bench, which made it extremely powerful. Dracovish has to be in the active position for that ability to work, so it's going to have to be attacking. Now, its attack for a water and 2 colorless energy hammer in deals 120 damage. It's an okay attack. You could power it up with Frostmoth. All in all, I think that the card is pretty strong. It's got 150 HP for a stage 1, which is certainly nothing to scoff at, but I don't think its attack is necessarily powerful enough to keep powerful Pokemon V and Pokemon VMAX at bay. Now, Dracozolt and Arctozolt, both pretty cool fossil Pokemon as well. I really like a lot of the fossil Pokemon from this set. Dracozolt's Rising Charge attack does 30 damage, and during next Pokemon, its Rising Charge attack does 90 more damage, so you could deal 120 damage if you use that attack back-to-back turns. And then for 4 colorless, you deal 200 damage, and this Pokemon cannot attack during your next turn. 200 damage and 160 HP on a stage 1 is pretty good, but 4 energy is a hefty attack cost. I really love the Arctozolt, though. It's got the ability Numbing Vortex. Whenever your opponent attaches an energy from their hand to one of their Pokemon, you put 2 damage counters on that Pokemon, meaning that if you have 4 Arctozolt in play and your opponent puts an energy onto one of their Pokemon, they're going to have 8 damage counters going on to that Pokemon. The Arctozolt also combos really well with Galarian Cursola V, whose ability Eating Aura reads, as long as this Pokemon is in your active spot, when your opponent attaches an energy from their hand to one of their Pokemon, you put 3 damage counters onto that Pokemon. So you can imagine if you had a board position with 4 Arctozolts and a Galarian Cursola V in the active, then your opponent would be placing 11 damage counters onto their Pokemon just for putting an energy on, which would be pretty crazy. Not exactly sure that Galarian Cursola V is the most powerful attacker ever. Its attack, Hollow Missile for Psychic and a Colorless, does 60 damage and put 3 damage counters on your opponent's bench Pokemon in any way you like. But the idea is certainly pretty gimmicky and seems pretty fun to at least think about. Now, this artwork for Mimikyu is amazing, I have to say, absolutely stunning. It's got an ability, Heal Stop. Your opponent's bench Pokemon can't be healed. And what's interesting is that the biggest healing card in format, Mallow and Lana, a supporter out of Cosmic Eclipse, switches your active Pokemon to the bench and then heals 120 damage from it. So the Mimikyu, as I read it, would stop that damage from being healed. So stopping Mallow and Lana, definitely a powerful effect, and this Mimikyu can stop that from occurring. So not only do we have the Scoop Up block Mr. Mime, which can prevent Pokemon from being scooped up, but now we have this Mimikyu with the Heal Stop ability, which can stop Pokemon from being healed by Mallow and Lana. Pretty powerful effect. I also thought this Gothitelle was pretty interesting. Its attack, Distort, does 90 damage for a Psychic and a Colorless, and you choose 2 random cards from your opponent's hand. Your opponent reveals them and shuffles them into their deck. So it's like a hand removal card. It is a stage 2 Pokemon, so a little bit more difficult to get into play. But being able to strip your opponent's hand away, as we have seen with Trevenant and Dusknoir Tag Team GX, is very strong. So it's got a little bit of that Trevenant and Dusknoir feel to it. Pretty much the same attack, but only costs 2 energy and on a non-GX, non-VMAX Pokemon, which is pretty cool. And then its first attack, Psycho Trip, does 40 damage and your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused. You always have to take a look at Flygon cards. This one's got a pretty cool ability. Its ability, Sand Maze, reads, if this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, your opponent's active Pokemon cannot retreat. Now, we've seen this kind of ability see some success before. There's the Block Snorlax from expanded formats from one of the plasma sets, very strong, and can create win conditions just if your opponent cannot retreat that Pokemon out of the active position. This has got the same ability, however, it is on a stage 2. Its attack, Desert Geyser. You always have to take a look at You always have to take a look at Flygon cards. They usually have pretty nifty abilities. This one is no different. Its ability Sand Maze reads, if this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, your opponent's active Pokemon cannot retreat. We've seen this kind of ability see success before. You can trap one of your opponent's Pokemon in the active position and create win conditions just by trapping that Pokemon there that shouldn't be there. Then there's also its attack, Desert Geyser, 130 damage for fighting into colorless. If your opponent's has a stadium in play, discard it. If you do, during your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage and effects done to this Pokemon by the attacks of your opponent's Pokemon. So it can make the Flygon invincible, which is super cool. However, it can only be used if your opponent has a stadium card in play. So they would have to play into it for you to be able to get that full effect of their Desert Geyser, but it is pretty cool. Rhyperior V, what a mean looking dude. It's got 230 HP and 2 attacks. Drill Run does 80 damage for fighting into colorless, and you discard 1 energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. That's a decent attack there. Energy Disruption is always good. Fighting type is going to be very good with Eternatus VMAX decks running around as well. And then Heavy Rock Cannon for a fighting and 3 colorless does 210 damage, and this Pokemon cannot use this attack during your next turn. I really like the ability on this Ariados Spider Net. When you play this card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may switch one of your opponent's evolution Pokemon with their active Pokemon. It's like a Lycanroc GX Bloodthirsty Eyes, if you remember Lycanroc GX from Guardians Rising. However, it only works on evolution Pokemon, but it is a non-GX, non-VMAX card. So I do like that ability, and I think it could be pretty nifty in decks that want to catch her up Pokemon VMAX. Now, of course, Crobat V is probably the best card in the set. One of the best cards released recently, really only competing with maybe Dedenne GX, Boss's Orders, and Quick Ball. Crobat V will certainly be in almost every deck. It's got 180 hit points, and its ability, Night Asset, reads, once during your turn, when you play this Pokemon from your hand to your bench, you may draw cards until you have 6 cards in your hand. You cannot use more than 1 Night Asset ability during your turn, but who cares? You can Night Asset, and you could Data Change in the same turn, and then you could set up with Shaman EX in expanded format till your heart is content. So I think that this is an amazing card, amazing artwork, awesome stuff. Can't wait to see this thing in almost every deck. This Galarian Obstagoon is also really good. Its ability, Bad Ruler, reads, once during your turn, you may have your opponent discard cards from their hand till they have 4 cards left. So it keeps your opponent's hand size at 4 the entire game. During your turn, you just say, hey, discard to 4, and they have to do it. Absolutely nuts ability. And then its attack, Knuckle Impact for 3 colorless energy, can be used with triple acceleration energy, does 180 damage, and this Pokemon can't attack during your next turn. I love attacks that can be used for a triple acceleration energy. Just 1 energy attacks are great. 180 damage, great damage output as well. This card is really, really cool. This Hoopa is pretty cool, worth looking at as well. Its attack, Assault Gate for 1 darkness energy, deals 90 damage, but it does nothing if you didn't switch it from your bench to your active spot during your turn. It's kind of like Zapdos, which did 10 plus 70 if you switched it into the active. However, this Hoopa does nothing, unlike Zapdos, which did 10 if you don't switch it, and it does 10 more damage than Zapdos overall. So I like the Hoopa. I think it's a good card, and non-GX attackers are always very nice to see. And of course, Eternatus V and Eternatus VMAX. We already made a video talking about these dudes, but they are amazing. Eternatus VMAX's ability, Infinity Zone, reads, if all of your Pokemon in play are Dark type, you can have up to 8 Dark Pokemon on your bench, and you can't play any other type of Pokemon while you're kind of unlocking that bench potential. And its attack, Dread End, does 30 damage times the amount of your Dark Pokemon, so you can have 9 Dark Pokemon in play, 8 bench, counting your active, 9 Dark Pokemon in play, times 3, that is 270 damage for just 2 energy, and it's got 340 HP. This card is completely nuts. It's going to be its own deck. You can even use Crobat V to set up. It's amazing. Unfortunately, the amazingness stopped right about at Eternatus VMAX as far as the VMAX Pokemon in this set are concerned, because even though Scizor VMAX looks really cool, it's just not quite getting there, unfortunately. Scizor VMAX's attack, Max Steel Spike, does 190 damage for 2 metal and a colorless. You know who else has an attack for 3 energy and is metal type Zacian V, and Zacian V does 230 damage. So Scizor VMAX just does less damage, but it does have a lot of HP, which is very cool, and it is compatible with Metal Saucer. Its first attack, Hard Scissors, does 90 damage, and during your next turn, it takes 30 less damage from attacks. Now, Scizor V started off strong. It's got a great looking artwork and a super good first attack. Tear Off for a metal energy. You get to discard 1 Pokemon tool and a special energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. It's like Righteous Edge on Drampa GX, except you also get to take a tool card from your opponent's active Pokemon and discard it. I really love the effect of that first attack. And then its second attack for 2 metal and a colorless does 140 damage. It's just hard to get excited about any metal Pokemon that doesn't do 230 damage for 3 energy, because Zacian V just does. So unfortunately, even though Scizor looks really cool, it's just not the top dog as far as metal Pokemon are concerned. The Klinklang line is pretty neat. Klinklang's got an attack for a metal and 2 colorless. Clockwork does 200 damage, but if there are no Klink or Klang on your bench, it does nothing. So you gotta have a bunch of Klinks, bunch of Klangs. I really like that Klink artwork. I think it looks great. And for a metal and 2 colorless, you can deal 200 damage, which is pretty good for a stage 2 Pokemon. We've also got a new elephant here. Caparaja has got an ability, Antibacterial Skin. This Pokemon can't be affected by special conditions. And then for 2 metal and 2 colorless, Revenge Stop deals 120 damage, plus if your bench Pokemon have any damage counters on them, it does 120 more damage. So you can do 240 damage if any of your bench Pokemon have any damage counters on them, which is pretty easy to set up. 240 damage, not bad, but it is a stage 1 Pokemon. It does take 4 energy to launch that attack. It does have a hefty 190 HP though, so it's pretty good. As the elephants have proven so far, they have a lot of HP, they deal a lot of damage, but their attack costs are always just very high. This Dunsparce is pretty neat. Dunsparce usually are. It's got 60 HP and an ability. One last dig. If this Pokemon is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, discard the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. So if it was wearing one of those cursed shovels and your opponent knocked it out, they'd have to discard 4, which is kind of a cute idea. And finally, we have got Salamance V and Salamance VMAX. These guys are amazing, and being colorless Pokemon, they've all but confirmed that Dragon type is canceled. But I really love this, and I love that dragons are now colorless. I think that looks awesome as well. The ugly green, I'm over it. So I'm really into the new colorless typing of this Dragon type Pokemon. It's got some amazing attacks as well. The Salamance V Transflight, this attack does 30 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon for 3 colorless energy. And then Heavy Storm deals 160 damage for 4 colorless energy. It's got 220 HP and is weak to lightning. However, Pikarom does have a lot of tools rotating next format, and fighting Pokemon are going to be getting stronger as a result of Eternatus VMAX deck, so maybe Pikarom isn't as big of a threat next year, and lightning weakness is not as bad as it is right now. Now, worth noting is that the Salamence line does have a -30 resistance to fighting, which should see an uptick in play because of Eternatus VMAX deck, so the fighting resistance is definitely welcome. Now, Salamance VMAX is incredible. It's got a hefty 320 HP and 2 great attacks. First attack, Twin Sonic. This attack does 40 damage to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon for just 1 energy. 40 damage to 2 Pokemon is great for setting up KOs. For its second attack, Max Wing. It deals 240 damage for 4 colorless energy, and during your next turn, this Pokemon can't use Max Wing. Fortunately, it can still attack though, so you can trade between using Twin Sonic and Max Wing, and I really like that this Pokemon is an evolved Pokemon, so it's compatible with triple acceleration energy, as well as a new colorless special energy that is also released in this set. It's a great time to talk about that new colorless energy, Powerful Colorless Energy. Amazing card. As long as this card is attached to a Pokemon, it provides colorless energy, and the attacks of the colorless Pokemon this card is attached to do 20 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. It's like Strong Energy, but for colorless Pokemon, and Strong Energy was one of the best special energy cards ever printed. So I'm really excited about this card. You could use it on Snorlax VMAX, and you could use it on Salamance VMAX. So I'm really excited about Salamance VMAX. I think that it's going to be a great card in combination with this Salamance. Twin Sonic can deal 40 damage to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon, and the powerful energy makes it so that if you choose to deal 40 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon, you can actually do 60 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. Since the powerful energy only works on your opponent's active Pokemon, you could do 60 to the active and 40 to the bench with your Salamance VMAX Twin Sonic attack. Also, Max Wing could deal 260 damage with just one powerful energy attached. Now, powerful energy does stack. So if you have 4 powerful energies on your Salamance VMAX, you're going to be dealing 240 damage plus 80 damage, so you're going to be doing 320 damage, one-hit KOing all of the most popular Pokemon VMAX for just one attack. So that's pretty amazing, but getting 4 powerful energy onto your Salamance VMAX is not going to be the easiest thing in the world unless you set up a Porygon Z, but setting up Porygon Z is also not the easiest thing in the world. I think a more realistic strategy is that you're probably going to be placing 1 powerful energy onto your Salamance VMAX and softening up Pokemon with the Twin Sonic attack. Mew from Unbroken Bonds does stop your Twin Sonic, but what's cool is if you have a powerful energy attached to your Salamance VMAX, you can boss his orders up the Mew from Unbroken Bonds and deal 60 damage to it, knocking it out in one hit, which is very valuable. So you're going to want to probably set up, powerful energy on your Salamance VMAX. Then you can come in with triple acceleration energy and perform surprise max wing attacks for 260 damage if you have a powerful energy attached, to clean up knockouts on even the biggest Pokemon VMAX. So I really like the idea of the Salamance VMAX deck, and I think that it's going to be a very fun card to play with. On to the items, and there are a lot of really good ones in this set. Cheer, Yell, Horn is an item card, and each player's active Pokemon is now confused. Item-based status conditions are always amazing. We remember Hypnotoxic Laser, obviously the most infamous one of all time. This one inflicts confusion. Now, a lot of decks are playing heavy switch counts right now, especially with Jirachis still running rampant in many deck lists. So it is relatively easy to switch out of status conditions right now. That being said, I still think this is a very powerful card. Automatic status condition infliction with an item. Great card, and I think it'll find a home somewhere. Turbo Patch, I also think is really good. You flip a coin. If heads, you choose a basic energy card from your discard pile and attach to one of your basic Pokemon, excluding Pokemon GX. Now, there's been a lot of controversy on my streams about whether or not this card's going to be good. I am definitely saying that this card is going to see play in something. You can only accelerate to basic Pokemon, that's fine, but you can accelerate to the active, which is important, and you can accelerate any type of basic energy. And there are Pokemon out there that are just starving for item-based energy acceleration. They didn't get Metal Saucer or Welder, and they're just like, please give me something. I'm just looking for a scrap of energy acceleration somewhere. Turbo Patch is that scrap of energy acceleration that if you don't work with Welder and you don't work with Metal Saucer, then Turbo Patch is here for you. And I think that this card, even though it only works half the time it works every time, and that's enough for some Pokemon. It's also the rare fossil, which evolves into all of those cool fossil Pokemon we reviewed in this set. It's got 70 HP though, which is a really nice upgrade. Toughness Cape increases the maximum HP of the basic Pokemon it is attached to by 50. Which is completely nuts. It reminds me of Fighting Fury Belt, which increased the HP by 40 and increased damage dealt by 10, but this is increasing maximum HP by 50, meaning that Zacian V can just have 270 HP now. Like it's a Pokemon Tag Team GX, except it's only worth 2 prizes, which is completely insane. Also can combo with Spiritomb, and Spiritomb, even though it only has base 60 HP, can have 110 HP with this, meaning that its attack deals 30 damage, 10 plus 30 more damage for each damage counter on it. You can have 10 damage counters on your Spiritomb now with the Toughness Cape, meaning that your Spiritomb can deal base 310 damage if you have 10 damage counters on it, which is kind of crazy. So Toughness Cape, I think, is a very good card. And 50 HP, that's just an absurd amount of HP to boost with a tool card. Now, Bird Keeper, I think, is a really powerful supporter card. You can switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon, then draw 3 cards. It's like Welder, but instead of accelerating energy, you switch. And switching supporters have seen play, and supporters that draw 3 cards have seen play. You smash them into one, and you've got a pretty good supporter on your hands. And I think this card is certainly going to find a home somewhere. It's cool in those, Decidueye decks. Giving your Rowlet a free attack is certainly pretty neat, but a nice little pivot option. Also in combo with Jirachi, you could Stellar Wish, you could Bird Keeper into another Jirachi, draw 3 cards, Stellar Wish again. I like that. I think that that is pretty good. So I think that this is going to be a supporter that definitely sees some use. Piers is a supporter that doesn't read super great at first glance. You get to search your deck for a dark Pokemon and any 1 energy and reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck, which seems okay, but when you consider that any dark Pokemon includes Crobat V, which can fill your hand to 6 cards, which is pretty good, and any energy means any energy, triple acceleration energy, special energy, whatever, it's pretty cool. So you could go search your deck for the triple acceleration energy you need to attack, and then use Crobat V in order to set up. I really like that. I think that this card certainly will find a home in decks that rely on either Crobat V to set up or special energy in order to attack. I love that it automatically finds that special energy for you, so you don't have to worry about hitting one of your triple excels or twin energies or something like that. Now, Rose is a very powerful supporter. It allows you to choose up to 2 basic energy from your discard pile and attach them to one of your Pokemon VMAX. Then you discard your hand. It combos really well with the Rose Tower Stadium, which allows each player to fill their hand to 3 cards once during their turn. Now, Chaotic Swell is the ultimate enemy of this combo. If you're trying to use Rose to accelerate energy maybe onto Eternatus VMAX, and then you want to fill your hand with the Rose Tower, if your opponent plays Swell, it's going to disrupt the whole system. It's not going to work, right? Now you could say, oh, I will play the Resetting Hole Marshadow, but if you're using Eternatus VMAX, then you can't play non-dark Pokemon, so that strategy definitely gets disrupted by Chaotic Swell. Still a powerful combo nonetheless. The Spike Muth Stadium is pretty cool also. Whenever a player's Pokemon is moved from the active spot to the bench during the turn, you put 2 damage counters on that Pokemon, can stack up damage counters on Jirachis, which are constantly moving in and out of the active spot, so that's pretty neat there. And then there is the Hide Dark Energy. As long as this card is attached to a Pokemon, it provides Darkness Energy, and the retreat cost of the Darkness Pokemon is attached to is 0. It's like a Dark Cloak from Darkrai EX, but on an energy. Definitely good. Dark Pokemon will definitely play that energy. Very strong card. And that's it for Japan's Infinity Zone set. Really looking forward to playing with these cards in our Darkness Ablaze set. And that's it for Japan's Infinity Zone sets due out June 5th. I'm really looking forward to playing with these cards when they come out in our Darkness Ablaze set in June. This set looks awesome, and I'm really excited about that new Salamance VMAX. I think that that is just a really cool card, as well as the powerful energy. It reminds me a lot of strong energy, and I love strong energy and fighting types, and I could see myself really taking to that combination as well. Thank you all so much for watching the video. Make sure to like the video, sub to the channel, ring that bell, and of course check out Full Grip Games for all of your trading card game singles. Supporting the shop at Full Grip Games directly supports the content that I create here on Tricky Jim. Also, if you're looking for PTCGO codes to beef up that PTCGO account, make sure to check out fullgripcodes.com for instant PTCGO code delivery. Also, make sure to check out the Twitch stream, twitch.tv/TrickyJim, where I do this kind of stuff live all the time. Not live right now, but I create most of my content live on Twitch. So definitely make sure to check out the Twitch channel and give it a follow if you have not already. We stream live Pokemon trading card game content 5 days a week, every single weekday. Y'all take it easy and have a great day. Until next time, peace.